She had worked 5 years for that promotion, 5 long years of double shifts, 5 years of humiliation, 5 years of being invisible, and in just 10 seconds, she threw it all away for a baby that wasn't even hers. What she didn't know was that the child she saved belonged to one of the most powerful billionaires in the country, and her decision that night was about to change her life forever. Nia Carter was 26 years old. She lived in a tiny apartment on the edge of the city, peeling paint, broken heater, and a kitchen sink that leaked every night. But Nia had something most people in her neighborhood didn't have any more: hope. Every single morning at 5 a.m., she woke up before sunrise, ironed her uniform carefully, tied her hair into a neat bun, and practiced smiling in the mirror. Because she didn't just work at a restaurant, she worked at the Golden Ember, the most luxurious fine dining restaurant in the city. Celebrities ate there. Politicians booked private rooms there. And sometimes, billionaires walked through those doors. For Nia, this wasn't just a waitress job. It was her stepping stone. Her dream was to become a restaurant manager and, one day, open her own place. A restaurant where people like her mother would be treated with respect. Her mother had worked as a cleaner her entire life. She used to tell Nia, "Baby, don't let the world make you feel small. Work hard, but don't lose your heart." Those words lived inside Nia. At the Golden Ember, she worked harder than anyone else. She memorized the menu better than the chefs. She learned how to open expensive wine bottles flawlessly. She studied customer behavior. She even stayed late to help the kitchen staff clean. But there was one problem. Her manager, Richard Hale, never truly saw her. He saw her uniform. He saw her name tag, but he never saw her potential. That night was supposed to be her big break. The assistant manager position had finally opened up. 5 years. 5 years she had waited, and Richard had told her earlier that day, "If tonight's VIP event goes smoothly, we'll talk about your promotion." That was all she needed. Tonight was everything. The Golden Ember was hosting a private charity dinner. Rumor said one of the wealthiest men in America would attend. Though his identity was kept confidential, Nia didn't care who it was. She just needed perfection. Crystal glasses sparkled under chandelier lights. Soft piano music floated in the air. The scent of truffle butter and roasted garlic filled the room. Nia moved like poetry between tables. Polite, precise, professional. Richard watched her closely. For the first time in years, he looked impressed. By 9:30 p.m., everything was flawless. No complaints, no delays. VIP guests smiling. This was it. This was her moment. Until a scream shattered the calm, not from inside the restaurant, from outside. At first, people tried to ignore it. Then came another scream, and this time, it was a baby crying. Not normal crying, terrified. Crying, the kind that makes your heart drop. Nia froze. Everyone else stayed seated. Richard whispered sharply, "Ignore it. Stay focused." But the crying didn't stop. It grew louder, panicked, desperate. Nia's heart began pounding. Through the front glass window, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A stroller, rolling, alone, heading straight toward the busy street. No adult holding it, no one running after it, just a baby, seconds away from traffic. Cars were speeding past, headlights flashing, and nobody was moving. Nobody. Except her. Richard grabbed her arm. "Don't you dare leave this floor. We have VIPs." For 1 second, one painful second, she thought about her promotion. 5 years, her dream, her future. Then she remembered her mother's voice. "Don't lose your heart." Nia pulled her arm free and ran. She ran through the restaurant doors, ran across the sidewalk, ran toward the stroller that was now inches from the road. A car horn blasted. Tires screeched. People shouted. At the very last second, Nia threw herself forward and grabbed the stroller handle. The front wheel dipped into the street, but she yanked it back with all her strength. The car stopped inches away. The baby inside was screaming, shaking, but alive. Nia collapsed to her knees, holding the stroller. Tightly, her hands trembled, tears filled her eyes. "You're okay, you're okay," she whispered. The restaurant doors burst open behind her. Richard stood there, furious. "You are fired. No thank you. No concern, no relief, just those two cold words. You abandoned your shift during a private VIP event. Get your things and leave. Nia looked at him, then looked at the baby, then back at the glowing restaurant she had given 5 years of her life to, and just like that, her dream job was gone. She didn't know who the baby belonged to. She didn't know where the parents were. She only knew one thing. She would do it again, even if it cost her everything. What Nia didn't realize was that from the second-floor private balcony of the Golden Ember, a man in a tailored black suit had watched the entire thing, a man who owned half the buildings in the city, a man whose son had been inside that stroller, and his name was Daniel Laurent. Billionaire and single father, and the most powerful man in the room, and he was not impressed with the restaurant. He was impressed with her. Daniel Laurent never panicked, at least, that's what the world believed, at 38. Years old, he was the founder and CEO of Laurent Global Technologies, a company worth billions. News channels called him the silent strategist. Investors called him a genius. Employees called him intimidating. But none of that mattered the moment he saw the stroller rolling toward the street. From the private balcony of the Golden Ember, Daniel had stepped away from the charity dinner to take a call. His security team stood a few feet behind him. His son, Noah, had been with his nanny outside near the entrance for fresh air. It was supposed to be safe, controlled, secure. But in one careless moment, the nanny distracted by her phone, the stroller slipped from her hand on the slight slope of the pavement, and then it rolled. Daniel saw it happen in slow motion, the stroller moving, the street ahead, the headlights coming closer, for the first time in years. Daniel Laurent felt fear, real fear. His body reacted before his mind did. He rushed toward the stairs, but someone was faster. A young waitress in a black vest ran past the restaurant doors without hesitation, without thinking, without calculating. Consequences. She didn't check who was watching. She didn't look around for approval. She just ran, and when she threw herself forward to grab the stroller, Daniel stopped breathing. Then the car stopped. The stroller jerked back, and his son was safe. Daniel exhaled shakily. He hadn't realized his hands were trembling. Behind him, his security team rushed downstairs. But the moment Daniel reached the entrance, he heard something that made his jaw tighten. "You are fired." Daniel paused. The manager stood there, furious. The waitress, the woman who had just saved his child, was on her knees holding the stroller, looking stunned. She didn't argue, she didn't beg, she simply nodded once, as if losing her job was less important than the life she had just protected. Daniel watched her closely. Most people in that situation would have immediately asked who the baby belonged to. Most would expect gratitude, money, attention. But she didn't ask for anything. She was whispering softly to Noah, soothing him. The nanny rushed forward, apologizing repeatedly. "I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't—" Daniel raised his hand to silence her. His eyes remained on the waitress. "Is he hurt?" she asked gently, finally looking up. Her voice carried no fear of him, no recognition. She had no idea who he was. "No," Daniel replied calmly. "Thanks to you." There was a quiet weight in his tone. She nodded again and slowly stood up. "That's good." She didn't smile. She didn't try to make conversation. She just stepped back and said, "You should hold him. He's still shaking." Daniel carefully lifted Noah from the stroller. His son immediately clung to him, still sniffling. For a moment, father and stranger stood facing each other. Daniel studied her. She looked exhausted, not from tonight, from life. Her uniform sleeve was slightly torn at the wrist. Her shoes were worn out, but her posture was steady. "What's your name?" he asked. "Nia," she replied. "Nia Carter." Before Daniel could say another word, the manager interrupted, nervously. "Sir, I deeply apologize for this disruption. She no longer works here. We will handle this internally." Daniel turned slowly toward him. "No longer works here?" "Yes, sir. She abandoned her VIP shift." Daniel's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the air did. "She abandoned her shift," Daniel repeated quietly. "To save my son." The manager swallowed. "Well, yes, but protocol—" Daniel stepped closer. "Protocol would. have buried my child tonight." Silence fell. Guests inside the restaurant were pretending not to stare. The nanny looked like she wanted to disappear. Nia shifted uncomfortably. "It's fine," she said softly. "I understand company rules." Daniel looked at her again. She meant it. She wasn't trying to manipulate the situation. She had already accepted the consequences, and that impressed him more than the act itself. "How long have you worked here?" Daniel asked. 5 years. "And tonight?" She hesitated for the first time. "Tonight was supposed to be my evaluation for assistant manager." Daniel glanced at Richard. "Is that true?" The manager cleared his throat. "She was being considered." Daniel gave a short nod. Then he did something unexpected. He took out a sleek black business card from his wallet, Laurent Global Technologies. His direct line was printed on it. He handed it to Nia. "If you are ever in need of employment," he said calmly, "call this number." She looked confused. "I don't have experience in tech." A faint shadow of a smile touched his lips. "I don't hire only for experience." Their eyes met. For the first time, Nia felt something shift. Not attraction, not opportunity, recognition. Like two people who understood responsibility in the same way. She took the card carefully. "Thank you." Daniel nodded once more, then turned to leave with his son. But before stepping into his car, he looked back at the glowing restaurant behind him. The chandeliers, the polished floors, the manager bowing slightly, and then his gaze moved to Nia, standing alone on the sidewalk, holding a cardboard box with her belongings. 5 years reduced to 1 box. Daniel got into the car. As it drove away, he said to his assistant through his earpiece, "Run a background check on Nia Carter, full report." By morning, there was a pause. "Yes, sir." Daniel looked down at Noah, now sleeping peacefully against his chest. "Some people," he murmured quietly, "are placed in your life for a reason." Across the street, Nia watched the luxury car disappear into the night. She looked down at the business card in her hand. She almost laughed. Billionaires didn't call waitresses. They forgot them. She slipped the card into her pocket anyway, because even though her dream had just collapsed, for some reason, she didn't feel hopeless. She felt like something had just begun. The next morning, Nia woke up at 5 a.m. Out of habit, for 5 years, her body had learned that time meant responsibility. Even though she had nowhere to be, she still got up. The apartment felt quieter than usual. No uniform to iron, no shift to prepare for, no future plan waiting at the golden ember. She sat on the edge of her bed and stared at the small wooden table near the window. On top of it, a black business card, Laurent Global Technologies. She picked it up again, studying the name, Daniel Laurent. The name sounded familiar. She grabbed her old phone and typed it into the search bar. Her breath caught. News articles filled the screen. Tech. Billionaire Daniel Laurent expands global AI network. Laurent Foundation donates $50 million to education reform. America's most eligible billionaire remains single father. Single father. Her heart skipped slightly. She scrolled further. And there it was. A photo. The same man from last. Night, sharp suit, calm eyes, powerful presence. Net worth $4.2 billion. Nia dropped the phone onto the bed. "That's impossible," she whispered to herself. Why would someone like him give her his direct card? People like him didn't even notice people like her. She stood up and paced the small room. Maybe it was just politeness. Maybe he handed cards to everyone who helped him. Maybe. Her phone rang, unknown number. Her heart started pounding. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" There was a brief pause, then a calm, deep voice she instantly recognized. "Miss Carter?" Her throat went dry. "Yes?" "This is Daniel Laurent." She sat down quickly before her knees gave out. "Yes, sir. I hope I'm not disturbing you." No, of course not." He paused again, as if choosing his words carefully. "I reviewed your employment history this morning." Her eyes widened. "You did?" "Yes." Silence stretched between them. "You've worked continuously since you were 18, he continued. "No gaps, no complaints, 3 customer service awards. You completed online business management courses at night." Nia felt exposed. How did he know that? "I like to understand people before I make decisions," he said. Decisions. Her heart. was racing now. "I have an opening in one of my foundation's community projects," he continued. "We're launching a hospitality training program for underprivileged youth. We need someone who understands the industry from the ground up." Nia blinked. "I'm not a manager, I'm aware." His tone softened slightly. "But you understand responsibility. And last night you demonstrated leadership under pressure." She didn't know what to say. "I would like to offer you a position," he finished calmly. The room felt smaller. Her mind flooded with doubt. "I don't have the right clothes," she said quietly before she could stop herself. There was a slight pause. Then, surprisingly, he laughed softly. Not mocking, not cold, just human. "We can handle clothing." Her lips curved faintly despite her nerves. "This isn't charity, Miss Carter," he added more seriously. "You would earn this position. I don't hire people out of gratitude." She believed him. That was the strange part. "Why me?" she finally asked. On the other end of the line, Daniel glanced at Noah, who was stacking toy blocks on the living room floor. "Because when everyone else stayed still," he said quietly, "you moved." Her eyes filled unexpectedly. No one had ever described her like that. Moved, not lucky, not emotional, not impulsive, brave. She swallowed. "What would I need to do?" "Meet me at Laurent Tower at 10 a.m. We'll discuss the details." Laurent Tower, the tallest glass building in the city, where billion-dollar deals were signed. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll have my assistant send a car." "That's not necessary." "It is," he replied, gently but firmly. And just like that, the call ended. At 9:45 a.m., a sleek black car pulled up outside Nia's apartment complex. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Children paused mid-play. Nia stepped. Outside, wearing her simplest, cleanest outfit, a navy blouse and black trousers. She had borrowed heels from her neighbor. Her hands were shaking. The ride to Laurent Tower felt unreal. Glass skyscrapers reflected the sunlight. The city looked different from inside tinted windows. When the car stopped, she stared up at the massive building. Laurent Global Technologies. Her reflection looked small against the glass doors. Inside, everything was polished marble and quiet efficiency. People in suits moved quickly but calmly. She felt out of place until she saw him. Daniel stood near the elevator, holding Noah's hand. He wasn't in a dramatic black suit today, just a simple gray one, still powerful, still controlled. But when Noah saw her, his face lit up. "That's her," the little boy shouted excitedly. Employees nearby froze in confusion. Daniel's eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw something softer in them. "Miss Carter," he greeted. "Good morning," she replied nervously. Noah let go of his father's hand and ran to her. "Thank you for saving me," he said seriously, as if repeating rehearsed words. Her heart melted. "You're welcome," she whispered. Daniel watched the interaction carefully. Something shifted inside him, something unfamiliar. For years, his world had been numbers. Contracts, acquisitions, precise, predictable, controlled. But this woman standing in front of him had acted purely from instinct, and that unsettled him in a way he couldn't explain. "Let's go upstairs," he said finally. As the elevator doors closed, Nia realized something important. Yesterday, she had lost everything she worked for. Today, she was standing inside the most powerful building in the city, and she had no idea that the opportunity Daniel was about to offer her would not only change her career, but slowly change his life as well. The first week at Laurent Foundation felt like a dream. Nia wasn't serving food anymore. She was designing training programs, meeting young people from broken neighborhoods, teaching them how to greet guests, manage pressure, handle conflict. For the first time in her life, she wasn't invisible. Daniel watched from a distance at first. He didn't interfere. He simply observed, and what he saw confirmed his decision. Nia didn't lead with authority. She led with understanding. "You're not just staff," she told her students one afternoon. "You are the experience. Never let anyone make you feel small. But success attracts attention, and not all attention is good." One morning, Daniel's assistant rushed into his office. "Sir, there's a complaint circulating online." Daniel looked up calmly. "About?" A former manager from the Golden Ember claims Miss Carter was fired for negligence and emotional instability. He's implying she endangered guests. Daniel's eyes darkened. Richard Hale, the same man who had fired her. He had posted a carefully worded statement suggesting Nia acted recklessly and created chaos during a high-profile event. The media picked it up quickly. Speculation spread. Was Laurent Foundation hiring irresponsibly? Was Daniel blinded by emotion? Nia found out during lunch break. She sat alone in the staff room, staring at the article on her phone. Her chest tightened. It had taken her years to build her reputation, and, in minutes, it felt threatened again. When Daniel entered the room, she stood immediately. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "For what?" he asked. "For bringing drama into your company." He studied her face carefully. "You think I hired you without anticipating resistance?" She didn't answer. Daniel stepped closer. "I was there that night," he said firmly. "I saw what happened." Her voice trembled slightly. "But what? If investors believe him?" Daniel's expression turned cold. Not toward her, but toward the situation. "Let me worry about investors." The next day, Laurent Global released security footage from the restaurant. Clear, undeniable. The video showed the stroller rolling, showed Nia running, showed her saving Noah seconds before traffic. It also showed Richard shouting at her. Public opinion shifted instantly. Headlines changed. Waitress fired after saving child. Billionaire defends her. Within 48 hours, the Golden Ember faced backlash. Richard resigned quietly. Nia watched it all unfold in disbelief. "You didn't have to do that," she told Daniel later. "Yes," he replied calmly. "I did." There was something deeper in his voice now. Respect and something else neither of them were ready to name. Months passed. The hospitality program became one of the Foundation's most successful projects. Young men and women who once felt hopeless were now employed in hotels, restaurants, event companies, and they all credited one person, Miss Carter. One evening, after a successful graduation ceremony for the program's first class, Nia stood alone on the rooftop of Laurent Tower. The city lights shimmered below. Daniel joined her quietly. "You've changed lives," he said. She smiled softly. "You gave me the chance." "No," he corrected gently. "You earned it." Silence settled between them, comfortable this time. "I almost didn't run that night," she admitted suddenly. Daniel looked at her, surprised. "I thought about my promotion," she continued. 5 years of work, I almost stayed inside." "But you didn't?" She shook her head. "My mother always said, success means nothing if you lose your heart." Daniel looked out at the skyline. "For years," he said slowly, "I believed control was everything. Structure, power, results." He paused. "But that night I realized something." She turned to him. "Some things can't be calculated. Some people can't be replaced." Their eyes met. And in that quiet moment it was no longer billionaire and former waitress, just two people who understood sacrifice. Downstairs, Noah's laughter echoed faintly through the hallway as he searched for his father. Nia smiled. "Looks like you're needed." Daniel didn't look away from her. "So are you." Not because she saved his son, not because she proved the media wrong, but because she reminded him that greatness without compassion is empty. Nia had quit her dream job to save a baby. She thought she lost everything, but in reality, she didn't lose her future. She found her purpose, and sometimes the bravest decision you make in 10 seconds can rewrite your entire life. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe, because sometimes the smallest decision, made in just a few seconds, can change an entire lifetime. Tell me in the comments, would you have run? And remember, never lose your heart chasing success. I'll see you in the next story.